Over the last decade, office culture has widely adopted the belief that getting out of a chair is a life-saving health decision. This has led millions of workers to trade their traditional desks for motorized standing units, assuming that simply being upright would reverse the damage of a sedentary workday. However, recent data has mapped the exact hourly limits where different postures begin to fail the human body. We are going to look at the specific thresholds where sitting damages the heart and where standing damages the veins, and then outline the precise movement routine required to actually protect your health. This data comes from the University of Sydney's Charles Perkins Center, where researchers analyzed more than 83,000 adults. Using wrist accelerometers, they objectively tracked every minute of movement and stillness over an average of nearly 7 years. The physiological data reveals that standing still is biologically sedentary. Gravity exerts continuous pressure on the blood vessels, and without the contraction of leg muscles to push blood back to the heart, the cardiovascular system remains under stress whether you are sitting or standing. Changing your posture while remaining stationary fails to address the underlying lack of movement. It leaves the heart and the circulatory system completely unprotected. To find the body's breaking points, we have to track the chronological progression of a typical sedentary workday. This clock diagram identifies the 10-hour mark as the first major biological threshold. Accumulating 10 hours of sitting in a single day moves the body into a specific zone of orthostatic risk. Orthostatic circulatory disease refers to conditions like blood pooling, chronic venous insufficiency, and varicose veins. These occur when blood struggles to return to the heart against the pull of gravity, placing immense pressure on the vein walls. Past this 10-hour limit, the risk of developing these circulatory issues increases by 26% for every additional hour spent in a chair. At 12 hours of total daily sitting, the damage profile expands to include major cardiovascular disease. Every hour spent sitting beyond this 12-hour mark increases the risk of heart failure, stroke, and coronary heart disease by 15%. Crossing these time limits forces the body to manage simultaneous degradation. The veins in the legs struggle with gravity, while the heart loses the protection of active circulation. If 12 hours of sitting damages the heart, we must evaluate the impact of replacing those hours with standing still at a desk. The study found that replacing sitting with standing provides zero cardiovascular protection. There was no significant reduction in heart disease risk for those who simply stood instead of sat. The biological time clock for standing is much shorter than the clock for sitting. The threshold for physical harm arrives at exactly 2 hours. Standing stationary beyond 2 hours increases the risk of deep vein thrombosis and varicose veins by 11% for every additional 30 minutes. Prolonged standing also introduces mechanical and cognitive downsides. Users frequently experience shallow thinking and a loss of stability that interferes with fine motor tasks. This makes standing desks unsuitable for tasks requiring deep focus, long-form writing, or precision work like creative production and gaming. Relying on standing as a health solution is a mistake. It fails to protect the heart while actively accelerating circulatory disease and degrading mental performance. Kinetic movement is the only true physiological substitute for sedentary behavior. Simply changing posture alone cannot bridge the gap. The most effective workflow uses standing as a temporary posture for short-term tasks, keeping total standing time under the 2-hour limit. To reset the risks of the sitting time clock, you have to incorporate activity snacks throughout the workday. This schedule illustrates the routine. Stepping away from the desk every 2 to 3 hours to stimulate circulation with actual muscle activity, such as walking or taking the stairs. If you are forced to sit for more than 11 hours a day, the heart requires specific exercise targets for protection, either 30 minutes of moderate to high-intensity activity or 6 minutes of high-intensity training. Keep standing time under 2 hours, break up sitting with activity snacks, and meet your daily exercise targets. Protecting your cardiovascular health doesn't require specialized office furniture. It requires a commitment to keeping the human body in dynamic motion.